Events concerning international trade policy, specifically targeting the semiconductor sector, developed rapidly over the weekend. On Sunday, April 13th, United States President Donald Trump signaled an impending announcement, expected within the week, detailing new tariff rates on imported semiconductors. Accompanying this statement was an indication of potential flexibility for certain companies operating within this critical industry. This development followed closely on the heels of a White House decision communicated late Friday, April 11th, which had excluded specific technology products, including smartphones and computers, from the scope of escalating reciprocal tariffs imposed on Chinese goods. Initial interpretations suggested these exclusions might offer a reprieve for the tech sector. However, subsequent clarifications emerged, reshaping the understanding of the administration's strategy. The stated objective behind these maneuvers is the relocation of semiconductor and other manufacturing activities back to the United States, a goal underscored by the concurrent announcement of a national security trade investigation into the semiconductor sector and the broader electronics supply chain. The distinction between the existing reciprocal tariff structure and the newly proposed measures became clearer through official statements. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick provided crucial details on Sunday, April 13th, clarifying the nature of the earlier exclusions. He stated that while smartphones, computers, and semiconductors were indeed removed from the reciprocal tariff lists, which had escalated to 125% on certain Chinese imports, these specific product categories would face distinct new duties. These forthcoming measures were characterized as a special focus type of tariff, separate from the broader reciprocal framework, with implementation anticipated within approximately 1 to 2 months. Lutnick articulated the operational logic. These technology goods are exempt from one set of tariffs only to be included in another, specifically targeting the semiconductor and electronics sector. Move predicted to compel the relocation of manufacturing operations to the United States. The uncertainty surrounding these policy shifts, particularly the rapid sequence of exclusion followed by the announcement of new, targeted tariffs, contributed to significant turbulence in financial markets. Wall Street experienced volatility described as the most pronounced since the 2020 pandemic period. Indeed, the Standard & Poor's 500 index reflected a decline exceeding 10% since January 20th. This market instability prompted commentary from prominent financial analysts and investors. Concerns were voiced regarding potential economic disruption, the risk of recession, and the difficulties businesses face in planning amidst inconsistent messaging. Some suggesting a temporary pause or modification of existing tariffs could achieve similar strategic objectives with less volatility. Criticism also emerged regarding the perceived lack of a coherent, predictable policy framework, characterizing the approach as generating chaos rather than stable conditions for economic activity and investment. From an international perspective, the escalation prompted immediate countermeasures. Beijing responded to the increased United States reciprocal tariffs by raising its own duties on American imports to 125% on Friday, April 11th. Following the U.S. announcement of product exclusions later that day, China's Ministry of Commerce stated it was assessing the impact, employing metaphorical language suggesting the onus for resolving the friction lay with the United States, comparing the situation to untying a bell placed on a tiger's neck by the one who put it there. Direct diplomatic engagement at the highest levels appears paused for the moment. United States Trade Representative Jamison Greer confirmed on Sunday that no immediate plans existed for talks between President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping specifically regarding the tariffs, attributing the current trade friction to China's decision to implement retaliatory levies. However, White House Trade Advisor Peter Navarro presented a slightly different angle, mentioning an open invitation for China to engage in negotiations. Simultaneously criticizing Beijing's connection to fentanyl supply chains and notably omitting China from a list of 7 entities with whom active trade discussions were reportedly underway. This list included the United Kingdom, the European Union, India, and others. Parallel to this complex posture towards China, Greer expressed intentions to finalize trade agreements with several non-Chinese partners within the next 90 days, nailing a strategy of potentially diversifying trade relationships while the conflict with Beijing persists. Delving deeper into the mechanics, the announced national security investigation targets not just semiconductors, but the entire electronics supply chain. This broad scope suggests a comprehensive effort to scrutinize and potentially restructure the flow of critical technology components, lining with the administration's explicit goal of relocating production domestically. President Trump's statement about exercising flexibility with specific companies introduces an element of conditionality. The exact criteria for such flexibility remain undefined, adding another layer of uncertainty to how these new tariffs will ultimately be applied across the sector. This lack of complete predictability resonates with the concerns expressed by observers regarding macroeconomic stability. Prominent figures like Ray Dalio voiced apprehension about the potential for the current trajectory to lead towards a recession or possibly a more severe economic downturn if the situation is not managed carefully, hoeing broader warnings from economists about impacts on growth and inflation. The manner in which policy shifts have been communicated, the sequence involving the Customs and Border Protection notice on Friday, followed by clarifying statements over the weekend, drew specific criticism. Market strategist Sven Henrich highlighted the operational difficulties this creates for businesses attempting to plan investments and manage supply chains effectively, characterizing the constant adjustments as detrimental to stability. Therefore, while the strategic objective of enhancing domestic semiconductor and electronics manufacturing is clearly articulated, the path chosen involves significant operational complexities and has generated substantial debate regarding its potential economic consequences and execution effectiveness. Looking beyond the immediate operational details, this focus on semiconductors and the electronics supply chain signals a potentially significant strategic pivot. It moves the trade conflict beyond broad reciprocal measures towards highly targeted interventions in sectors deemed critical for national security and future economic competitiveness. This approach reflects a clear industrial policy objective aimed at fundamentally altering global production networks for advanced technology. The invocation of a national security investigation provides the framework for these actions, lending them weight beyond purely economic disputes. Simultaneously raises the stakes, framing the issue as central to the nation's strategic interests. The ensuing market volatility and the expressed concerns from financial analysts and economists underscore the inherent risks associated with such a policy, especially given the complexity and interconnectedness of modern electronics supply chains. Disruptions in this sector can have cascading effects across numerous industries reliant on these components. Furthermore, the approach creates a complex diplomatic landscape, intensifying friction with China through targeted tariffs and pointed rhetoric. The administration concurrently seeks to forge new or improved trade relationships with other key partners. This dual strategy appears aimed at isolating Beijing while building alternative economic alliances, though its success hinges on navigating intricate international relations and achieving tangible deals within the stated timelines. The ultimate outcome remains contingent on several factors: the specific tariff rates and exemptions eventually implemented, the capacity of industries to adapt or relocate production, the nature of China's ongoing response, and the broader global economic conditions. These developments represent a critical juncture in international trade relations, particularly concerning high-technology sectors. Consequently, the situation involves a deliberate policy initiative aimed at fundamentally altering the landscape of global electronics production, particularly concerning semiconductors vital to modern economies and security apparatuses. The operational execution, marked by rapid shifts in communication and the introduction of distinct tariff mechanisms alongside national security justifications, has introduced significant friction into international trade relations and generated palpable unease within financial markets. The pursuit of domestic manufacturing goals through such assertive means inevitably creates complex dynamics, balancing intended strategic gains against potential economic disruption and diplomatic fallout. What unfolds in the coming weeks regarding the specifics of these tariffs, the reactions of global partners and competitors, and the adaptability of intricate supply chains will therefore shape not only the semiconductor industry, but also the broader contours of international economic and strategic interaction. The confluence of these factors underscores a period of considerable consequence and inherent unpredictability in global trade policy. Thanks so much for watching. if you enjoyed this analysis, and be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more geopolitical insights like this. I love hearing your thoughts, so drop a comment below and let's keep the conversation going. Share this video with anyone interested in deeper perspectives on current events. Until next time, stay informed and think critically. Thank you.